theme song hits hard. Anyhow, welcome back. Black Scout Survival Late Night Live, your Zero Dark 30 midnight show. Anyway, we're going to talk about a few things. I saw this today, which I thought was insane, but it doesn't surprise me. And Elon Musk has been warning about the artificial intelligence, about how crazy it is, and that we don't need to mess with it. AI could rewrite the Bible and correct religion, says professor and WEF, World Economic Forum member, that is. In a few years, there might be religions that are actually correct. Just think about a religion whose holy book is written by an AI. So trying to say that religions are now not correct. How many of you guys drink the zero sugar, the sweeteners and stuff like that? Sucralose, recent science, sucralose linked to DNA damage, elevated cancer risk, and leaky gut. FDA, based on available scientific evidence, sucralose is safe for general population. If you're still following FDA recommendations, you're likely unhealthy. So this time is Splenda. A new study from North Carolina State University shows that the popular zero-calorie chemical is linked to damaging your DNA. So basically, it raises the risk of cancer and causes leaks in the gut lining. That means that every Splenda packet you use, you're essentially actually breaking down your genetic material. So anyhow, this video, we're going to talk about Joe Biden a little bit. I'm going to show some evidence on some other things, but this is kind of just my opinion on some of these things. So this is a very opinionated video. But he's a key piece to the downfall. Okay. A lot of people see him as a puppet, and to a certain extent, I do think that as well, but also think he's a key player to the downfall. What you see on stage, a mumbling, fumbling, falling down stairs, all bicycles and stuff. But he hadn't always been in that decline, but he's been a key player to this for a very long time. And, if you think about it, he didn't campaign when he was running for the 2020 election. He sat in the basement, if you recall, because of the coup. He stayed locked up, and he's not campaigning to get reelected now. That should make many of you wake up and to see what's actually coming. It's like he has it in the bag, like he did in 2020. But he's recently been very focused, as well as a lot of the country and Democrats as a whole, about this gender affirming healthcare, quote unquote. And he's okay with essentially giving hormones to kids that want to try to be something different this week, to be cool because it's the new cool thing. But this will have a lifelong effect, right? So he's trying to push that states and parents can't actually intervene on their children and stopping them from taking hormones. And he even goes on to say that to restrict transgender rights is close to sinful, and he's talking about hormones. Now, mind you, for quite some time we've talked about that man has been getting hormone disruptors in plastics. You just saw the Splenda thing that the FDA approved. There's this new product called semaglutide, which is Ozempic. It's a medicine for diabetics, but they're now giving it to people for weight loss. And it's actually causing sarcopenia, which is the decay of muscle and bone. So you weigh less, right? But you're actually unhealthier. And celebrities are taking it. People are taking it like crazy right now. You go to your doctor and ask them for Ozempic, they're going to give it to you. And yeah, you'll weigh less, you'll have less poundage, but you're really causing yourself to have sarcopenia. And you're actually having more fat mass in your body. Your fat percentage is actually higher based to your muscle and bone. FDA approved that. Okay. But you've seen the decline in men, right? Plastics, the foods, seed oils, all these things. And I think what we're seeing today is actually a byproduct of a long engineered plan to weaken and feminize men. You know, if you look around at all the beta males, the simps, and, you know, men wearing dresses, and there's a surge in this. And while I think it's a well orchestrated plan, you might have seen this guy here was out there showing his boobs out there on the White House lawn. And Joe Biden is saying, you know, we're in the battle for this soul for this nation, and he's talking about, you know, this type of stuff, and this is what we got going on in the White House, right? It's supposed to be a sacred place, but this guy right here, and this guy put out a statement stating that it was okay for him to go topless as a man, but now that he's a female, yeah, it's not okay. There's kids around. There's kids out there on the White House lawn, you know. But you know, I definitely recommend, obviously, getting your hormones checked and tested, because I think you'll be very surprised to see where you're at. And if you see yourself on a scale, you're like that of a 60-year-old. We have 20-year-old men that have the testosterone level of a 60-year-old. Now, this isn't just something that just happened. And you know, the nutrition plan, the dietary plan they put in place in the 80s, and we see how that actually increased obesity. If you go look online and look at the obesity rate when the food pyramid came out, obesity actually rose. So talking about Joe Biden and some of the things that he's done specifically in this is in 2004, when he was a senator, he put out something called the Anabolic Steroid Control Act, and it was actually signed into law. This legislation added 18 substances to the list of banned anabolic steroids, including androstenedione, and I can't pronounce it, tetra something or another. Senator Biden's measure also funding the education programs to teach kids about the dangers of those of steroids and those called for you know, making them or distributing or selling them they'll get criminal penalties. Let me actually pull this up so you can see it real quick. This is the fact sheet, and this is actually Biden measure to ban designer steroids becomes law. President Bush signs this measure, but it was actually signed and written up by Joe Biden. So it's called Biden's Anabolic Steroid Control Act. And so what you're seeing here is, like, for example, androstenedione. I actually took that when I was younger. I actually got it at GNC, but they made it illegal, right? Because it makes you better. And I'm going to show you some videos in a minute. But what they don't say is the obvious, right? Like, so NMN and turkesterone, they're trying to take NMN off the market and put that as a pharmaceutical, so you have to get a prescription. And I'm going to show you in a little bit about how the NIH, Fauci's group, is trying to put turkesterone on there as well. We're trying to actually put it as an anabolic. And, you know, so this is something that can make you better, and they want to outlaw it. Testosterone is a natural chemical you have in your body. Men and women have it, but they put it on the anabolic steroid list. Okay. But if you go down to your doctor and you're a girl and you say, you know what, I think I'm a dude, they'll give you testosterone. But if you're a guy and you go down there, they're going to tell you, no, I can't give you that. It's against the law. So we're talking about testosterone, something that is in your body already, okay, that makes you better, okay. So you can get testosterone through various doctors, maybe not your primary care doctor, but you can get them through various clinics and things. You can also get steroids like nandrolone, decanoate. You can get Anavar, you can get Winstrol, all through a prescription, right? All the banned illegal substances you can get through a prescription. So it's all BS. It's all BS. It was Biden with Big Pharma wrapping this in so they can make big bucks, because you can't get it through insurance. You have to pay it out of pocket, right? And how many people can afford to pay out of pocket for this? You can't. You can barely buy eggs. You can barely put gas in your tank, right? But they put it behind a big form of paywall to stop you, just like how guns used to be reasonably priced, but they increased the price so you can't afford them, right? They're expensive, right? Ammo, expensive. So that was the real play. And I'm going to show you, he's been doing what he's been doing for a very long time on how this is back in 2000, I think 4 or 2007. I can't recall exactly, but this is what he's been doing for a very long time, where he bundles up other things to try to sell a package to reduce your rights as an American. Okay. Let me play the first one, the first Senate hearing here. And we got old eye patch, John McCain.
Who are
I'm saying eye patch because we call Dan Crenshaw that. But here we go. Here's Joe Biden.
that they want to emulate the Joe DiMaggios of the world. And half of those kids believe that their specific hero uses steroids and uses performance-enhancing drugs to win. Now, I mean, you guys do this for a living, trying to deal with this. To me, as a plain old politician, that is a devastating idea.
A very evil politician.
You and I have worked on this issue for a long time.
And it gets down to base situation.
So the play he did was he talked about kids. All kids are going to go do drugs because they want to emulate the baseball players. Okay. And so that's his play. So here he is again.
Using a performance enhancing substance to gain a competitive edge over an opponent is cheating. Sports organizations that allow athletes to cheat through weak drug testing.
I'll get to the Joe Biden part here.
With an equilibrium a little more quickly than I have been.
There's something simply un-American about this. This is about values. It's about our culture. It's about who we do.
It's un-American, but it's okay to give little kids testosterone, right? He's calling this un-American, but it's okay to give little kids testosterone.
Define ourselves to be.
Fairly or unfairly.
So you see what I'm saying? It's such hypocrisy. And then I'm going to pull up, right? So the Fauci crew, NIH right here. So let me back up real quick. First off, there were some videos we put up on various social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook, and people were saying testosterone, there's no data to prove it. There's tons of data. You just hadn't looked. Oh, it don't work. Well, you hadn't used it, so you don't know. I've used it. Right? I know it works. I currently use it. I know it works. So anyway, that's when I went digging through these to show these reports. But what I found is that the NIH, Fauci's crew, is trying to put it on the anabolic steroids list. Okay. So this is from the NIH, PubMed, and it says that, so let me first off go, testosterone is a natural steroid hormone in the body. Let me talk about that first so you get a glimpse of what I'm talking about. It's a natural steroid hormone in the body. Okay, so you can get it, and we're talking about in plants, so you can consume it. It's a natural, I shouldn't say it's in the body, it's a natural product. Okay, so it's not a chemical, right? It's found in plants, and it's also found in insects because insects eat plants. Okay, but it doesn't come from insects. I wouldn't take it if that was the case. So it's similar to anabolic steroids used by bodybuilders and athletes to increase muscle mass and strength. It increases protein synthesis. That is when your body actually builds muscle. Okay, so whenever you take a steroid, it increases protein synthesis. So the more food you intake, the more protein synthesis happens, muscle building happens. So it leads to increased muscle mass. So turkesterone can also increase testosterone levels. Again, why they want to ban it, which leads to muscle mass, strength, stamina, reduced body fat, also helps bone density and reduce the risk of injuries. Why wouldn't you want to take it, right? And it does not have the side effects, we're going to go over that in a minute, as anabolic steroids. So when we look at the chemical structure of phytoequisteroids, which is what turkesterone falls into, and testosterone, they look very similar, except that they're synthesized the same way through cholesterol. And testosterone does the same thing. So if you know why steroids are bad because it screws up your liver and kidney. So that's why when people will comment on my videos, say, just take steroids. Steroids will affect your liver and kidneys. That's why these bodybuilders are dying young. Okay. But if you go get your blood checked while you're on steroids, you'll have a high LDL and a low HDL. So a low good and a bad high cholesterol. But it's the backbone of building muscle. However, turkesterone does not have the side effects of that because it doesn't have the same chemical chain structure. Okay. So if we look at this study here with the NIH, it talks about equisteroids. So equisteroids is actually just the umbrella that turkesterone falls under. And they did a 10-week study in this 10 weeks study group within this study, and it was strength training of young men. Okay, so they did strength training, they took equisteroids, okay, and they were administered this throughout the whole time. They were tracked for their weight training, and they were also taking blood and urine samples to ensure that they were not taking any anabolic steroids, as well as to check their potential biomarkers and performance, just to get kind of cues off that stuff. The study goes on to say here that there was a significantly higher increase in muscle mass with the participants that were dosed with steroids versus the ones that weren't. So they also detected more nitrogen, so nitrogen retention, so muscle volume intensifies, increased sports performance, pronounced increases in 1 repetition bench press, and no increase in biomarkers or liver, kidneys toxicity of what you would find in anabolic steroids. So down here, it says, you see, our results strongly suggest the inclusion of equisterones in the list of prohibited substances and methods in sports and class and other anabolic agents. So right here, they want to knock it out, right? They want to put it with anabolic steroids. And they're only doing this because now it's become a popular thing again. It's been used for 40 years. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But now they're trying to knock it out, right? So this is another study here. And this one was 12 weeks. Okay. And pretty much the same thing. In the same, the same muscle mass increase and all that kind of stuff. But if you see here, equisteroid, quote unquote, a Russian secret, has already been suspected to be used by Russian Olympic athletes since the 1980s. So Russians have been using this for a very long time. And when I went digging into that, it was all over the place. Russians were winning competitions right and left, and they were actually kicked out of competitions. Okay. So this study, 12-week intervention study, young man conducted regular resistance training. All of them were volunteers, and they looked at blood, urine samples the same, check all those things. But again, they also asked for this to that it be included with other anabolic agents. So it just keeps on going on, So In that study, they said significantly higher increases in muscle mass were observed with those volunteers that were dosed with echisteroid supplements. Okay, so I've got one more. This is actually that one. The other one was WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency. So they're trying to ban it as well. And they said there was a ton of muscle mass increase, right? Again, one repetition, squat and bench, and they recommend it gets banned as well. So they had a study also showing that rats had increased more muscle fiber size with turkesterone than it did with 2 anabolic steroids, right? So anyhow, the study that's up here on the screen is the most comprehensive one I found. These scientists went so far as to compare them to anabolic steroids. So they went through the various groups of, there you see turkesterone here. They have other types of echisteroids there. And then they even go over testosterone, nandrolone, stanzol, mint, all these things, right? Primobolan, durabolan, all these steroids. So they compared them to it. So this says in pretty much the summary of it is that echisteroids exert a number of beneficial pharmacological effects on mammals, including humans. According to the pertinent literature, their protein synthesis increasing effect seems to be the most pronounced one, which is comparable to that of most widespread anabolic androgenic steroids. Moreover, echisteroids have other relevant benefits, such as they have low toxicity to vertebrates. Their harmless consumption of vegetables with high echisteroid content, such as spinach, quinoa, and chestnut, and it also says that pretty much that shows the proof of its safety. They do not bind to the vertebrae's nuclear steroid receptors, which means they do not exert hormonal side effect characteristics similar to the of anabolic and androgenic steroids. The relevant literature data was also supported by our some tests they did. Anyway, due to their high polarity and relatively high water solubility, this property is fundamental in modern drug design procedures. But one thing to note is a paragraph in the article that only a limited number of human studies are available with a small subject numbers and short duration times in Russian language. So again, the Russians have been using this for 40 years. So all the studies other than these 3 were in Russian because the Russians have been using this for 40 or 50 years. So they're saying there were only a few studies done that weren't in Russian. So as many other scientists have made statements on this, turkesterone really just gained exposure here in the US as of late, but and that stirs up a lot of skeptics because it's a new product, but it's not really new. Russians have been using it 40, 50 years, winning Olympics, right? Now, some of the benefits and why I'm even talking about this, because I think that it can help men. I want to see men succeed because we have a lot fighting against us, right? Specifically, Joe Biden. He's been working on this for freaking 40 years himself. But some of the benefits is increased muscle mass. It helps with protein synthesis, as I've stated, which builds muscle, obviously. Athletic performance, stamina and strength, helps burn fat, breaks down fat, so helps with weight loss. And then increase energy levels, which I noticed out of the gate. I needed it. I got 2 little girls. I needed that energy, right? And I'm an old man, right? I'm older than most people with kids that age. So it makes exercising easier, makes playing with your kids easier, makes working easier. Other benefits, though, is reducing inflammation. If you're old like me, your body's been through hell and back in the military, you want to reduce that inflammation. Knees, ankles. You know what I'm talking about, you veterans. Enhancing cognitive function. So ton of benefits, right? But we see time and time again, big pharma rat with politicians, and you can say whatever you want, but this has been the play for a very long time. It just started booming in 2020 whenever they seen what they could really do, right? I mean, it's like on turbo right now, okay? And you see the men falling right and left, falling into dresses. So anyway, I wanted to make this video for quite some time because this has been on my heart. But the thing is that it's an opinion piece. It's not that I know this for fact, but when there's enough smoke, there's fire. When you see Joe Biden that has been working on this for a very long time, like what's his deal with it? It's not affecting him. But then I showed you where he used little kids, right? They're always the little kids. But he has no stake in the game. Why has he been pushing this long? And we've seen the decline of man drastically. And just so you know, women can take turkesterone too. You can take turkesterone, you take cysteine and Tomcat Ali, and you can take NMN, you can take all these products because they're not hormonal. I wouldn't recommend you go take testosterone like Joe Biden does if you're a woman. But anyway, so with that, because I knew I was going to do this video, I asked Black Force to give me a discount code, and they were gracious enough to do so. And I like, like I told you the other day with the one company, the gas mask company, I hit them up and said, hey man, can y'all give me a good discount code for my people? And so I asked Black Force, and they told me that they'd give me this deal for my people. You can get, if you order 5 bottles of Turk, you get 2 of them free. So you put 5 in your cart, put in the code 5 Turks, and you get 2 for free. So you're getting $60 worth of product for free, essentially. So, and this deal only lasts 48 hours, they said. 48 hours, and they're going to shut it down. But 5 Turks, put 5 in your cart, 2 will come off. So you're paying for 3, get 2 free, which is incredible. But again, I'm sure a lot of you guys are seeing it. I mean, we have, they're embracing, the White House is embracing, they put the flag up, I did the video last night, they put the flag up with ours submissive to it, the American flag submissive to it. They have dudes out there shaking their tits on the front White House lawn, dudes in dresses twerking in front of kids in thongs, and we're all supposed to be okay with it. You can't tell me this hadn't been the play for a very long time, because you know why? Because men are the one who fights in revolutions. They're the ones that are heads of families. They're the ones that's not going to put up with this nonsense. And daily, every day, I see an attack on it. If you look at my video last night, I got called a bigot, all kinds of stuff, right? Homophobe. Trust me, I'm not afraid. Don't ever put phobe on my name, because I'm not afraid. But anyway, and you can find out. You can find out if I'm afraid or not. But anyway, guys, the code is 5 Turks. You're going to get some. I want to know your thoughts on this. Again, this is just something that I've been really thinking about. And I know I kind of talked about it quite a little bit here and there in videos, but I think this has been the play for a very long time. And anyhow, let me know your thoughts. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Remember to stay frosty, stay strapped, and stay dangerous. Take care.